Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Taylor. I am the systems and operations expert here at Chanel and Lee, and today is another Dubsado tip and one of my favorite features in Dubsado that any business owner of any level should be utilizing in their business with Dubsado, and that is payment plans. One of the most popular features and reasons that people utilize Dubsado is for their invoicing. So if you are a business who needs to invoice your clients, you can do it in a seamless process here in Dubsado at any stage of your business. I've worked with new business owners who are invoicing their clients, and I've worked with businesses that have been 10 plus years and are working with $50,000 clients per month, and they're using Dubsado to invoice. The great thing about invoicing in Dubsado is that they have payment plans. What the payment plans option does is gives your clients due dates based on relative dates of the project, such as when it starts, when it ends, when the contract is signed. And the best part is that you can schedule reminders. So your client will not only know when their payments are due, they'll get an email letting them know, hey, your payment's coming up, it's due today. And you can even set past due reminders. So if that client does forget to pay, you don't have to worry about checking in every day and typing in an email. The system can do it for you. So in Dubsado, the way that you set up payment plans, first you're going to go to your templates area, and right down here under payment plans, you're going to see that Dubsado is going to have a couple of their just standard templates, 50/50, 34/33, 33, etc. But we can also create our own templates. So I'm going to start by creating a new template. You want to think of payment plans as installments. So if you know that your service, you charge two payments of 50% of the total balance, that would be two installments, right? So every installment is going to have an amount due and a due date. So if you have three payments, it'll be three installments. If you have one payment, it's one installment. You get the idea. So for this example, I'm going to do a 50/50, 50% of the total and 50% of the total. Now, when we add an installment, you'll see that there is going to be a due date, the amount due, and the reminders. When I click on that installment, I can now set all of the settings to create that due date. Now you'll see a couple options here. Relative, this means the due date is based on something in the project happening, such as before the project starts, so many days after it starts, after the contract is signed, etc. There's a lot of options here, but don't get overwhelmed. Fixed would mean on a specific date on the calendar. And yes, although your clients probably have specific dates, a lot of this is going to change client to client. The only time I really see fixed dates is, let's say you're hosting a workshop and that workshop is from July 1st to July 4th and all the payments are due, on the day before the workshop begins. It's the same date for everybody, but for most of your clients, you're probably booking clients at different times of the month. They have different payment plans. They have different retainer options and time length and project scope. So we're really going to stick with a relative option here versus a fixed payment plan date. And then you have TBD. This just means that you're not setting a particular date. Maybe you're going to come back and change the date later at another time. We'll talk more about that in a second. So let's say for this payment plan, I want the first payment to be due when the client signs my contract. That is the initial payment. I'm going to take that first 50/50. So I'm going to do a relative date and I'm going to set it for 0 days after the contract is signed. This means that as soon as that contract is signed, when they go to view their invoice, it's going to show the due date as the day that they signed. Now, here's where we can check out our amount that is due. So you have some options with installments. You can divide equally, which means if I add a second installment, it will automatically do the math for me. I won't have to type in 30/70 or 50/50. It'll do the math. I can also type in percentages, right? So I could do, a 60% and then a 40% or whatever I wanted to do here. Or I could do a fixed amount, so a number amount versus a percentage. Maybe if it's $1,000, it's 500 and 500. You can kind of decide what works best here. But again, we're doing half and half, so I'm going to click divide equally. And then here's where we can add reminders. Now, in this scenario, I would probably be sending this first invoice over with the contract and all of the details. So I don't need to tell them that their payment is coming up because technically they haven't signed yet. So I'm going to leave it empty. Now, my second installment would come in here and we're going to go through the same process. I would have a relative date, such as maybe 1 day before the project starts, or maybe it's after the project ends. I want to set it for a day after. Here's where we most commonly see the TBD, right? So, for example, maybe in your business, the end date of the project really depends on the project. Maybe you don't have a set end date depending on the scope and the timeline and the budget. Your end date may be 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now. You don't know. That would be a scenario where you could put TBD. And when you do have that final due date ready, you could always come back to the invoice and edit that date. For this example, I'm going to do relative. I'm going to do 1 day before the project ends. We're going to have the final payment due. So you'll see I have 1 of 2 payments, which was our first one, 0 days after. And then I have 2 of 2 payments. It already divided it equally for me. And this one, I do want to add a couple reminders because this is the final payment. I really want to make sure they get that. So again, this is going to be relevant as well. So we can say how many days before the due date we want to send this email. So I'm going to do 7 days before the due date. We'll have a payment reminder. And you can customize these by clicking into your canned email responses and creating maybe your own type of payment reminder. So I'll do upcoming for this one. I'm also going to add one the day of so they don't forget. So 0 days before due date, and we'll have the payment reminder due today. And then I'm also going to add in a couple for after the due date. So if they don't pay, they're getting those follow-up reminders. Now, the great thing is with the follow-up reminders after the due date, if they do pay before that due date or maybe during the first reminder, then the great thing is that those other emails won't send. So if on this email they pay that day, this one won't go through saying it's past due. Once the invoice is paid in full, the past due details will no longer send out because the system knows that it's paid. Once I have this payment plan set, I can start using it in my projects. I can use it in workflows, I can use it in my proposal, and I can also use it on an invoice manually. And I'm going to show you that way real quick because it's probably the most simplest for you to understand at this point in time. Hopefully in future videos, I'll show you how you would attach this to a workflow if you're using a proposal in a workflow. But let's head to a project. Let's head to this test project here, and I'm going to go to an invoice and create a new invoice. Now in this invoice, let's say I have a package. We're just going to give it this random package here. It's going to populate that. Let's do this one. There we go. Perfect. And then let's add my payment plan. So here's where I can create a payment plan from scratch, basically doing what we just did, or I can add a payment plan template from the ones I created. So there is my new payment plan. I could have titled that 50/50. I'm going to populate that and you'll see it automatically adjust the remaining balance by what's here. So 150, that's divided by 2, 125 and 125. It's showing this is unpaid. And actually, this is showing as overdue because my project date is in the end of March. So you'll see that now it's saying, hey, March 31st already passed. This is overdue. And then you can see all the reminders that are here and preview them, adjust them. And then you can always edit. So just like I was saying, we have a TBD maybe. That TBD one we could always save as a TBD and come back to update at any time. And you can always change the amount. The great thing is, let's do this on a fixed date so we don't get any craziness happening. The great thing is that if you adjust the invoice amount, so let's say we added something into here, it will automatically update for you. So my new total is 500. Those new payment balances are 250 and 250. As long as you're using the percentage, right, or the divide equally, that will update. Now, if you're using a flat fee number, let's say $100 and $100, obviously that's not going to add up to your total if you have more than 200, but you can totally change these, edit them, use them to your advantage to make sure that your clients are paying their invoices. If you love these Dubsado hacks, I would love for you to drop a comment, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and go follow me on Instagram where I share all of the Dubsado tips and hacks you need to run your business smoothly and create a 5-star client experience. You can follow me at Chanel and Lee, or you can head to my website, www.chanelandlee.com. See you guys next time.